What's up, Rockstars? I have such an exciting unboxing here today. This is something that, as you know, I covered multiple times, a lot of different iterations. They've been working so hard on this, and the fact that they have now completed it and delivered it after so much time is really incredible. And I'm excited to see what's next from them. But this is, of course, Dawn of Madness from Dimension Games. This is Wave 2, as my understanding. This is like everything else. So there's quite a bit here to unbox. I'm excited. All I did was open it up to make sure this wasn't like, you know, the original one or anything like that. But no, this is the new stuff. So let's get to it. All right, so I'm gonna try and this is a big box. Dimension Games kind of goes big, if you know what I mean. Like they're not making some small game here. All right, so very well packaged. I like seeing these kind of corner styrofoam things. That's always nice. I'm going to try and fold this down so it doesn't hit the mic, but. Even with my filming setup, it gets a little tight with some of these big boxes. But okay, a lot here. The fact that this is still okay. I was like, how is that still just sitting on here? That's nice. Is it taped? Oh, it is. They taped it on here. Very cool. I don't know if I've seen another company do that. At least not from what I've unboxed. And I've unboxed quite a bit, guys, as you know. So that's really neat. All right, let's see if we can start taking some of these out, and that'll help the rest. Alright, so here is the Forgotten Void. This is like all the other like character expansions and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of like written material here. A lot of different cards and stuff. Here is the Ticking Heart. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Alright, oh my gosh. Alright, this one, I always liked, I don't know, I just thought that this like crown thing was super cool. The Art and Oblivion. Again, so much Lovecraftian theme here. We have the Watchers, a smaller expansion. We also have the Depressions, another smaller expansion. It's like, I don't want to say unit. Unit makes it sound so normal. It's far from normal. Just you know, different things. We have a white box. That's exciting. No labeling. Let me see right here. Core game upgrade. That'll be interesting to see. Then we have these lore cards with the Numina. And in fact, that's what that says here. I wonder if this is just an update to it. So, you know, if you make a change or whatever and it's already manufactured, you can do little tricks like that to still kind of get it updated, which is kind of nice. Oh my gosh, so much. Then there's the Executioners. That's a cool one. Oh, look at that. That is so awesome. All right, and then finally, at long last, we have another one. One last one, I believe. The Written Rift. Another big expansion there. And then I think, oh, no. Then we have, the Art of Madness. Look how thick this is. So exciting. Oh, I can't wait to see that. I love books like that. I kind of collect them because I have like a little book, like a dirty bookcase, and I just like having them there. So, if you're wondering how much that is, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so let me reposition, see my plan of attack here. There's going to be a lot to go over. Hopefully you're comfortable. Get some coffee, get some tea, get a soda, sit down, relax, use the restroom before so you don't interrupt your scheduled viewing program. But yeah, let's just get into it. All right, so I figured I'm going to do this in kind of a random order. Like literally, I'm going to kind of do a mix and match of everything. So let's start actually with one of these small ones. And then go from there. I think that might be kind of interesting. So right now we're doing the Depressions. Yeah, the Depressions. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got going on here. All right, man. So, you know, I had no idea. I knew there was still quite a bit to come. I didn't know it would quite be this much. This is a lot. This is a passion project for sure. My goodness. Okay. So, We have the standee version of them, right? Which again looks pretty neat, pretty neat. I love the color. They've done so much better with, you know, putting a little bit of like a highlight, so it still looks dark and dreary, but at the same time you can see what it is you're looking at. If you go all the way to back to like Deep Madness, right? That was very dark for a while there, and I think Dimension Games has gotten a very good balance between the kind of dreary, dark, chaotic view of some of these things that are, you know, almost incomprehensible, right? To still being visible. And I think, as you can see, I think they did a good job here. So here's Dejection. Then we have Melancholia. Then we have Woe. Acably. Oh, that's like French. Okay, I was like, what the heck's going on there? Okay, so that's Depression. Okay, interesting. Oh man, so they just have all the different languages here. That's kind of neat. I kind of like. Oh man, you know, it's a vibe to play it in a different language, I think. So those are the three. Is Woe, Melancholy, and Dejection, really. And again, the theme of like the long, overextended neck down with the arms up. I like the theme like that, so you can kind of tell what's going on. The lower arms down here as well, while still having it be. Here's probably a better look at the art. And again, we're going to look at the art book, of course. You can see each one has kind of like stitched up areas there as well, so it's very focused on like, you know, being similar while still being unique. All right, so I was about to do this, but I don't always comment on the boxes like I used to, just because a lot of times they're standard, but sometimes they're, I don't want to say unstandard, non-standard, whatever. But they're nice. I really, really like these. So they have some good flex to them. It's because it's just kind of like tucked in there, right? You can even see the like fold in there. But look how clean that inside is. It even has like a perforation, so it can kind of perfectly match. And it's like a loose, like, do you see? See, I can like take that off technically. And so it's like the cardstock instead of cardboard, but it's doubled up. But then with this perforation, you get this perfect kind of box shape that's perfectly centered and everything like that because of this. So this is a nice addition. This is something I really like to see. A lot of times if they have like a wrap of some kind, that wrap can be offset, and I've shown that in a lot of videos, right? Where like, oh, this is slightly more to the left, or it's like cut off there, or it's folded in a weird way, or, you know, whatever. So very cool. I saw that just like that. I'm like, oh, hey, that's neat. So anyway, there you go. I actually quite like that. And again, this is like good. Like the creases. Anyway, it's nice. I like it. All right, let's look at the minis. Super excited. So nothing else. Again, just a bottom one as well. No tape. It does have the lock here, so it kind of like snaps in really nice. As you can see how that does that, and that's on all the corners. So that can also make it a little difficult to open. And in fact, I think you're gonna have to kind of like pull it out and then, yeah, like pull on the bottom like that. But that's fine. That's fine. All right, we have the little standee holders. I'm not gonna always show that. But it does have the 3 grips, so when you do put it on this, it's going to leave an indent. That's fine. You know, I'm not like too upset about that. And it's nice and secure. However, if you were to take it in and out too much, that would start to lessen. That being said, this looks big enough to where you could actually hold. Actually, here, you know, I'll check real quick just to make double sure. But yeah, so you can actually have them in here in the standee form and never really have to take it out ever, which is, again, kind of nice. All right, but enough of that. Let's talk about minis. Okay, so we got 3 here. Right, let's zoom in a little bit. There we are. I'm gonna move my lighting a little bit, so excuse me if it makes any sound or moves a little bit. Just want to make sure I get a good angle on things. And because the boxes, they're like off camera and they tend to kind of block some of the light. And maybe this is too bright. I don't know. I might actually still, it's better on it, but it's easier to do this than do it in post because those highlights can really kind of like pop out. All right, I bet we're good. Okay. All right, so looking at this, the assembly quite good. You can see there's some assembly here, right? Because obviously if this was like, you can't really take that out, right? And then this is obviously too long, so it has to be sideways. Anyway, the assembly here, again, quite good. There's a little bit of a nub there that caused a tiny bit of gap. If they had nibbed that, then I think it would have done fine. Starry Games is the manufacturer for Dimension Games. They're a fantastic miniature maker. So I think that looks incredible, and I'm not surprised, right? It's a tiny bit shiny, right? So it's definitely an ABS PVC mix. This right here, this base is 100% ABS, and I think this is some kind of mix between the two. Same manufacturing process. ABS is just a little bit of a nicer plastic. That also is what creates this kind of like white strain thing. That PVC will bend before it does that. ABS does eventually like snap. It's a little bit of a harder plastic. It means the details come out crisper, but also means off of the runners there, it can sometimes cause that. The stitching looks fantastic. It's thick enough. This would paint up well. It doesn't look like it's filled in or anything, so that's really good. The little tiny details, like the detail inside of here, I'm not seeing any like, oh, this is still textured, it's not flat or anything like that. On the back, this is something you don't always get to see in the art, so I kind of like looking at these, but you can see it's a little bit more of like, oh, this was once a person, multiple people fused together, human centipede, who knows. There's like veins here. Those would be awesome to highlight in a painting. The like this kind of stab wounds, you can kind of see that a little bit, right? But you don't really notice it too much. So these are some of the things where it can be, the miniature can show off more, right? Because you could really kind of make those pop if you really wanted to. It kind of depends. But again, you have all these like chains and just all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I love the cloth. It's interesting because the cloth is very almost like wet and droopy over the shape, so it keeps the shape fairly similar. So it is kind of hard to tell where that starts and stops. I think I can, but ultimately it's probably more where you painted than anything else, if that makes sense. But yeah, no, I think this is great. It's on the base really well. Base nice and flat. Underneath the base, it does say what it is. In this case, the depression dejection. Right, so it's from the depressions, or it's a depression, and it's the dejection one specifically. So anyway, very cool. I like it. Look at another one. All right, this one, a lot more cloth. And yeah, again, the stitching looks great. The stuff spilling out looks gross. Just recently, earlier this year, I was playing Silent Hill 2. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that kind of stuff, The arms over and then onto the head, really, really, really good. And the reason that is because the assembly is actually part of the head, as you can see here. So this was like one piece that then is connected here and here. That's a more advanced connection. And yet I feel like they did really, really well, especially if you like primed and painted this. It'd be really hard to see. A tiny bit of a mold line on this like stake here, which I didn't see on the other one, but I think that's really the only place. Right here too, it kind of stands out a tiny bit, but not too bad. But no, I really like that this was one piece, because otherwise this would have been a really hard thing to sell. It just would have been not as good. You see how it's like gripping and pulling away the flesh there? Like it just, you wouldn't be able to do that with a normal assembly. This is separate here. I think the 3 fingers came out really good. Same with this. Maybe a tiny bit of a mold line, maybe a tiny bit of an assembly thing. I think that looks fine. No, this is like really, really cool. They were very smart with how they put that. I really like that. I'm gonna look at the other one too, see how that is. But otherwise, same kind of things, right? You got the cloth, you got the chains, a lot more rib bone over here on the neck part. But otherwise, kind of a similar vibe. Again, it's all related. And then we have that last one here. This is the Melancholia. And again, same kind of thing. This has a little bit different stuff spilling out. It's a little bit more open, especially with this hand here kind of almost like gripping it to pull it out. This would have been kind of neat to attach, but I can see why they didn't, right? So the same thing where like the part of the face, it's like ripping away. I'm saying the like worst sentences imaginable, I know, is a separate piece, but again, very well glued together. Same with this, especially with this kind of overlap here. I think that assembly ended up very, very well. then this one here, again, I would have liked it. I might actually, after you would like paint, it's probably easier to paint this way, but I'd be tempted to glue it onto there. So it's like really looks like it's kind of pulling that, like I think it's trying to do, right? And that's why that's moved over like that. And maybe this is a slight, no, because this is a really clean, good line here. I was about to say it almost needs to go back maybe slightly, but maybe not. Yeah, this whole like drag stuff here, again, each one's kind of unique and different. This does have a hand on it as opposed to the other one. Actually, it has almost two. It doesn't look very melted in. It does look a little flat and maybe sunken in there. But considering what it's on, all these like body organs and junk like that, I think it actually works really well. And the whole like fuse body part stuff, like even if that's not on purpose, it like totally works. But yeah, anyway, that's a little expansion there, which is kind of fun. Kind of fun. All right, so this then goes like that. Then comes all the cards. Now, of note, obviously you'd have less cards eventually, right? Because you don't need all of those. And then this wouldn't be on top either. So it'll close better. See how that's like above right now? So it's definitely made, see how it's above the line there? For when you actually open it and use it, it'll store really nice and tight. Here it's not quite going off, but that's on purpose. So I actually really like to see that. I always prefer when they are more concerned about my storage than their shipping, if that makes sense. It's definitely a more customer-centric focus, which, you know, is what I'm all about. So I think that's great. Okay, so that's a little one. Let's go ahead and start on one of these. This is not the biggest box. However, I think it is one of the big box expansions, if that makes sense. So we're going to do that. And look at that. That is so cool. Seeing like the theater with all the hands on the, it's kind of like a poltergeist kind of thing a little bit. That's an interesting vibe. I dig that. Okay, I'm trying not to cut the plastic, but this is quite tight. I think I'm doing okay. Whew, that is tight though. My goodness. All right. I think I did good though. This one is of Art and Oblivion. And another nice thing, this is not like meant for retail. And so on the back they don't have they do have a UPC, but they don't have like a, oh, this is what this is. They assume you know what it is, right? If that makes sense. Which I think it does. I kind of like it. I like when I get stuff from Kickstarter that just seems made for how I bought it and not for other people. I guess it's fine if that's like the vibe of the campaign. It's like, hey, you're funding this so that we can like print it for non-backers. I will say this is a tight fit, and I am having trouble opening this easily. I would hate to like put a hole in it, but that would definitely help. It could be that it kind of isn't so tight afterwards. I don't know, but for now at least. Okay, all right, got that out. So let's see. So again, this is a more normal box, so nothing big here. The only thing I will say is it looks like it's pretty even. There is a little bit of an offset from the start and finish, so maybe it's not quite absolutely perfectly centered. But at least with the design, with kind of the you know, the focus that it kind of brings to you, I think that works either way. It doesn't look bad at all. Okay. Here is the expansion overview, and it is like plenty big. There's a whole, oh, okay, there we go. I was like, what the heck? That's crazy. All right, so here it talks about the act, the components on the back. It's going to show some of the minis. Obviously, we'll see these briefly. So excited to see that. And I think, yeah, there's a page here where you just have a list of the components. I always like seeing the number, picture, and name. Super helpful. So very cool there. All right. Then we have the Act 2. Okay. So we have the Act 1 audition. And then after the audition is the rehearsal. And after the rehearsal is the performance. And as you can see, it just like, you know, I've always kind of appreciated, it starts out all like normal-ish, then gets a little abnormal, and then gets very abnormal, right? The other interesting thing, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but it almost feels like it zooms out. And that's an interesting touch. So see here, quite large Here, it's taking up a lot of space, but maybe this is the same zoom in, maybe a little bit less. It's kind of hard to tell. But then this is like zoomed out much farther, and there's a lot more of that Oblivion. It almost starts with the art, ends in the Oblivion, which again, one of the things I like about this game is that I can think stuff like that, and I don't feel like I'm overthinking it. like I'm thinking about it more than they did. I don't know if that's possible. Oh, I do like the back of it. That's super nice. So I don't want to like spoil too much here or anything like that. So we're probably just going to look at the first one. But as you can see, it kind of goes over, hey, here's how kind of this runs for this expansion. Get some nice art. And then you get some of these like entry pages. We're going to skip a lot of those, but there's obviously quite a bit. And then here we have like, you know, some kind of like end scene or something like that. I'm not even going to look at the other two, but they're going to be similar. And they're similar in length. In fact, 3 might look a little bit thicker. Maybe a little bit. Very cool. All right. Then we have the cardboard. This is just one, so it's not wrapped or anything like that. It's a little bent, but not too bad there. Punches out totally fine. Does have that little bit of like a dusty kind of feeling. Ever so slightly. In fact, on the black, you can kind of see just some of the, maybe you can see that. It's like, it's just not perfectly black. And I don't think that's like a design. Though maybe it is. I'm not sure. Either way, looks good. A tiny bit of a, like, it gets a little white there. On the edges from the hard end on the bottom. Obviously the top I think looks fine. So just know that as you play it, it might start showing a little bit, but you're not really using these kind of tokens in that way. And this, you know, maybe a little bit more, but it's also, I think maybe, I guess it's not really like, see, that's actually quite a bit. So right there you go. You can kind of see how that's what I suspect, and that actually can like almost just rub off, but then you see that little white line there. So that'll be how your game looks when you've played it a whole bunch and you love it and you got a lot of time with it. I don't think it's a negative thing. It's just something I like to point out, especially for people who like to sell their games after they're done playing with it. You would certainly get a lot of mileage out of this one, I feel. But yeah, overall, I think it looks great. I love, again, these are so easy to see. Really happy with that. I think they look great and they still have a vibe. I love the color splashes too. All right, so this storage is super cool. Not only do we have these like indents, right, which I love. It's a locked lid, which I love. It's the black instead of the clear, finicky, you know, skinny tray, which I love. It has like this built into it, which I love. It does have the dual layer, and as you can see, you can already see a little bit of that kind of roughness, right? But we have the starting domain and existence, and again, I went over all this in the first one. These colors, for the most part, okay. These two are a little close. These two are a little close for me. I am slightly colorblind. I can't tell the difference, though it can be kind of difficult. But overall, as long as the numbers match, it's not like it ruins the game anyway. And then for centering, I think it's pretty close. There might be a little off. This almost looks a little bit skinnier than this. Like it might be slightly shifted, but if so, it is very subtle. You know, maybe there's a little bit more space here than here. I'm not exactly sure. It's so close, I'm not even going to call it. And that's really good. This is really hard to do. This will all, you know, they cut this and that's always going to be even, but sometimes the bottom one is slightly shifted in a certain way. But for the most part, this looks like it worked really well. There might have been a tiny bit because that looks like it's maybe slightly off. The line's ever so slightly, but maybe not. Again, it is hard with the layer. Look, it's actually a really good dual layer. I'm actually quite happy with that. I think that's great. All right, and then everything else is like underneath the tray, so that should be really nice and secure. I really appreciate that. And because there was only one of these, that's like a really minor inlay, and so it's not like it's going to wiggle around in the box or anything like that. No tape, because it does have the locking mechanism on it. That's sufficient, which again, really like to see. So these right here kind of grip it a little bit, right, which makes it just nicer. And what a cool display of minis and cards. But we're gonna look at the minis afterwards. So there was a little bit of movement. Oh, is that unwrapped cards? Fascinating. That's crazy. Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna have to. Oh, okay, okay. It came out of the. Oh, whew, I was like, what? Okay, I see, I see. So instead of like wrapping it, which by the way, the wrapping can be a good or bad. It's very hard. It depends on how tight it is. If it's super tight, it can actually make them bend more, right? Because they've kind of been stuck in a flexed position. At the same time, too little, and I don't know. They move around a lot, and they can get kind of like, you know, a lot of movement can like scratch them or whatever. I've seen that happen before. I'd rather loose than hard, but you can also just wrap them like that, and then sometimes they'll still flex, sometimes not. It just depends. But that's an interesting choice. Okay, so here we have, you know, all the different cards we'll need here, and they are super cool. I love seeing the actors like that. That's amazing. Yeah, these are incredible. Incredible. Look at the back here. Oh my goodness. Such cool art. Wow. That one's super cool. I love the stranger. With the character study. Subjugating the Muse. The King of Lies. Fantastic. The King in Yellow. That should be kind of familiar. That's a cool version of him. And then the play. Wow. Super awesome. Okay. So, again, all these cards are just like wrapped like this, which is super interesting. What I'm not sure about is when talking about storage, right? Are these just going to fly around everywhere once I put it back in? I'm actually going to kind of test that. Right now, they are bent a little bit. You can see it pretty plain as day, but if you want to check, reverse the bend, and as you can see, now it's bending each way, creates a big gap. So these are bent. Again, I don't know if they'll flatten out over time. You could definitely, you know, play around with it, put it under something flat. We'll see. It looks like for the most part, they do kind of come back. Now, that doesn't mean that over time they don't naturally curl back. That happens all the time, you know. But all right, looking at the artwork here, let's zoom in a little bit. Again, we'll look at the art book in a bit. For now, we're just looking at the chair. Yep, love it. Again, I'm not going to go over all of this for you guys. You guys can watch my first unboxing to get a little bit more of that. The auto shop, the acting class. As you can see, it's definitely a digital, right? A lot of times you can tell when they like add, what is, you know, like almost like the pattern swatches kind of stuff, right? Or obviously that apple is like 3D rendered, but often that also means that shadow is like real, right? So I mean, I don't know. It just, there's multiple methods at play to make these, but it always gave me, you can see that again with the shininess here. It almost gave me a little bit of like a video game vibe, which in this case, I think actually kind of works. Like I can see myself walking around that. And part of the thing I like about that is, when I say video game, you know, in a video game, you're walking around, you're moving around in it, right? And I can really see that. When even when I would look at stuff like Etherfields or whatever, like the art's super cool and I liked it a lot, but it doesn't, I don't instantly start imagining me walking around. Here, I literally do, because again, like it almost looks like I would walk around it in a video game, right? I play a lot of video games, so maybe that's it. Maybe it's just me comparing them. But oh, see, there's that backstage box from that back of Act 1 there. The green room, so cool. The catwalk, oh, that's got to be scary. The stage, the rehearsal room, nope, no, that's like an x-ray machine. And then the auditorium, very cool. Yeah, so for these, and then again, all the art on the back is even larger, which I love the focus on the theme, the art. I think that's a very nice thing to do. There's a lot of storage underneath here. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it would tell me, maybe it wouldn't. And maybe this supports sleeves, maybe it's just big. I don't know necessarily. But definitely there's extra room there. So here's where, see, they like actually spilled out. And once one does, right, then it's like super loose, very easy to kind of take off there. All right. So this is going to be in some kind of like, let's see, was this in maybe the back? I think maybe it was, maybe not. I don't know. I am going to say yes and just go ahead and put there. Let's see. There's 91. This is 15. They're just all over the place. Whatever. They're going to be up there. it doesn't matter a huge amount. I can always order it because it does have those numbers, which is kind of nice. All right, zoom in a little bit. These are a little smaller cards, but I'm not gonna look at every single one of these. But yeah, as you can see, quite a lot. Again, these are like really big expansions. There's a lot involved here. You'd be playing with this. Have you seen the yellow sign? The student becomes a master. Interesting. The show must go on, even with a hole in your chest. The man in the chest. Wow, what the heck is going on? Cowardice. So there's a whole bunch there, right? And then on the back, right? Heavenly popcorn. Monkey wrench. The consuming abyss, the enabler, the manipulator. Very cool to see all this stuff. There's just a ton of stuff. So I'm not going to go through all of it, right? I don't necessarily want to see all of it. Very cool cards, though. Then we have... Love this. One of my favorites. Always a fan. Just so cool to see a lot of this kind of stuff. I love the face kind of melting away because it kind of makes it to where it's like, especially with actors, right? Like who are they really? Where does one end and one begin, kind of thing, right? But yeah, then you have all these different things to do, which is a lot. Now down here we have Carrie James, which is super fun. And then you see even more cards there. Now, I'm not even going to open that up. I'll leave that to you. But obviously, there's some fun stuff in there. I do hate tuck boxes. You guys know that. For now, this is actually kind of finicky just because those are going into the wrap. But I am keeping the wrap on. Probably didn't have to, but, you know, whatever. Here we are. For the most part, that didn't like get damaged or anything like that. And it just fits nicely in there. These can go there. There's like a bajillion empty spaces there. And we have that. The rest is minis. Now again, I don't know where, like there's a lot of extra space there. I'm not exactly sure why, but let's look at some minis. I'm excited. We're gonna start with kind of the basic one. First of all, I love the anytime you're using like a prop, in this case literally kind of the prop is put up to adjust the pose. I think that's awesome. It's, as always, true scale, which means that they have smaller feet and hands. They're not overly large. Same with the head. It's more what would actually be a person. And again, it is this kind of like view, I think, of the actor themselves and what they feel, because they're almost dressed like a traditional like Greek play kind of vibe, right? And I think that's really neat. That being said, you can see a little bit with the like symbol on the book or the paper that it's not all as it seems. And in fact, maybe you shouldn't be acting this part out. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Then we have this version where now the chair is like a person bent over with like out a head and weird suction cup things coming out of their back. Just weird stuff. It looks like all their feet and arms are like cut off, or I guess feet and hands. The hair has grown out. Still the same sort of vibe, maybe a little bit like, I don't want to say lankier, but just less refined. I think that's where the hair kind of comes in there. And now, as you can see, they have a mask that they are going to perhaps put on, or they're contemplating putting on. But either way, reality is shifting around them. Again, I love this kind of like, oh, how does this keep progressing kind of thing, right? Then we have this one. The hair has now grown out completely. They are wearing the mask. In fact, there's now masks all throughout their hair, and the robe has now extended across all of them, and the chair is now actually a person that they are still like, you know, putting their foot on, kind of almost orating out like an opera or some play that you got to project your voice. The hands are now out almost like in like praise. Just very, very cool, that kind of subtlety. And in fact, even like the hair and the separation between the hair and the cloth, it gets a bit iffy, right? And I think that's, again, obviously on purpose. And then we have the final one. So now on this one, they have now they have a crown of face masks, and they now have like this like armor that's come out. That symbol that started out on the paper is now emblazoned there on their back. The person that's now over that has now started growing these like antler pincher things going on, and now even their hands are upturned to give some sort of praise to God knows what. Very, very cool. Just super cool. As far as the mini's concerned, ABS on the bottom, right? It's got all the labels there. Appreciate that. There is that, because again, it's so heavy in the ABS, those little things there, you probably want to trim up if you're going to paint. But they're on the back. They're placed in smart locations, a little bit on the side here. And sometimes you do get that little bit of an indent. On minis like this, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you can roll with any of that, and I think it works fine. But just something to note, you can always fill it out with like some Vallejo putty or green stuff or something like that too. But it's super minor. But yeah, just so cool. Again, I don't know how accurate I am on the description, but the fact that I can feel instantly, didn't look at it before, didn't think about it, I'm just looking and talking out loud about what I'm thinking, and I can create a story in that. And I think that's so cool. So cool. Another thing that's so cool are these masks. This is the coolest token ever. This is so awesome. First of all, this gets super skinny, like incredibly skinny. The detail here on these is wild. Definitely like keep that in mind when you're like messing with it and painting it, that it is like thin. That is awesome that they were able to get the plastic injected into that little bit like that. Just incredible. And maybe like it almost seems like it's not supposed to be there, but I think they're like leaves or little tiny. I guess there's a little bit of flash around some of them. I wouldn't bother cleaning them up though. I think that just kind of fits the vibe anyway. But yeah, all of it going over the face here, the kind of the two-facedness with the mask, the recessed eyes like that, just all of that is so super cool. How fun is that? And I don't know if they're the same or not. So let me look. There's 3 of them. It looks like they are the same. So cool. Love that. Just super neat. That's fun. All right, now we got the red minis, the bad people. Let's take a look. Start kind of small. So here's one of the actors here, like Cassidy or Cassandra or something like that. You know, just casually like ripping skin off and having weird tentacle organ stuff come out. You know, just the typical. The like almost cloak that they're wearing, cool. I love that their hair is upturned. I think that's super neat as well. Full mouth open. The face is like detailed and frightening. Like there are like lines around where the lips are and the chin's there, even when it's all open like that. The cheekbones are up. Like all the detail is actually there. It's just really small, but it's there, and that's impressive. They were so concerned about having this come out right. They actually like paid for like some assembly. So like this added to it, right? So that they can still pull it out and everything, but that's a separate piece. This is just one tentacle here, but it was important to them to not lay that down, to have that kind of like surrounding her like that. Again, that's where the cutoff there. You can trim that up pretty easily. Assembly looks really good. I love the like jaggedness here instead of just texture. Very cool. In like a gross sort of way. All right, this one. One thing I already like about this is how centered it is on the base. It's not in the middle. Instead, it's like running through there, and you can kind of see it billowing out here on the sides. You can see what's underneath it. It's gross. A little bit of assembly here where you can see the line. That's probably the most, I don't say egregious, but it's just the most noticeable. And really, it's because of this right here. If I was to do any consulting, I would have told them to end this and then have like a separate thing, or you know, have it curve and kind of come out and be part of this right here or something like that. Because when you continue it, that's when you see that gap, right? Or at least it accentuates it a little bit. But otherwise, the rest of it looks good. It's just unfortunate that's right there in the beginning. This, by the way, with these deep recesses like this and the sharp lines,
would take a wash and a dry brush or a highlight super duper well. It would look incredible. All of this cloth would look really, really good. All the little detail there is great. Even like I mean, it's not really a face, but the kind of the head detail is cool. I love the crown. I think it looks fantastic. Again, there's a little bit of you're going to have to like clean that up just slightly, but all the points are really good. There's not a lot of flash. None of them are like muddied. In fact, they are quite sharp. The ABS PVC, it's not like a separate ABS piece. It looks like it's the same plastic as all the rest. It just holds up really well. Again, Story Games is really good, but for the most part, it still depends on, it does look like that's a little weak spot right here. You see how it's like white there, so it's been strained, and even then that's like really bendy. So I can't tell. I don't think that's assembly. I think it's just really skinny there. So you might want to like thicken that up. And like if those were combined, I think that would have worked fine. So just keep in mind that. Everything else, I mean, like I said, even the crown seems really, really secure there. Anyway, you get what you pay for, right? Like no manufacturer is just gonna like go above and beyond for like cheap. So the more money you're willing to put into miniatures, where you do different rounds and you work with the artists and you really make it nice. You're willing to do all the different pieces, then obviously the better results come out of it. So Dimension Games is really putting a lot of money and time and effort. And really, those are often wrapped up all in the same thing for these minis. Love the feet hanging out here like that, like the back half of the legs like that. That's just awesome. I love the shape you get when it's like underneath the cloth, so you can really see. It's very interesting that it's like not angled out. You would almost think they would like make it symmetrical, but I think they're trying to avoid symmetry here in a lot of these, and that I think works quite well. So yeah, she's got like one arm kind of normal. She's got like 20 other arms, very abnormal, and then this other one just like isn't even there. Instead, it's like part of that, and then another one comes out here. So it's kind of like this is now like her new arm, or it's like underneath this like muscle webbing or whatever. Just gross. You can see one thing's like pulling out, like I don't know if it's a spine or a tentacle or whatever kind of nastiness. All the fingers came out great. I think that looks super awesome. That really helps sell it, those fingers like that. If they didn't have that and they were all mitten hands, it just would not look the same, but that just looks awesome. All the assembly back here, the different pieces that they did. I think it looks great. Very cool. All right, we got 3 more, and we're done with this whole expansion. So let's do this one next. Here's the King in Yellow. This is, I'm sure, one that a lot of people are looking forward to. The skull with the deep eye sockets looks incredible. The crown is amazing. The fingers with the like clawed hands look great. The cloak, the detail there looks very ornate, very kingly. The inside, look. Okay, guys, look at. Can you see the detail there on the inside of the cloth there? Super cool detail. I love that. That looks awesome. That looks super, super cool. Obviously, kind of coming out of like a pile of like bodies and nastiness and grossness. A little bit of cleanup there. On the back, you can see some of the trim. The little trim detail there. Very cool. You can hear that. Do you hear that? So, very cool to see that. Again, this cloth is going to look fantastic. Very, very cool. Looks like he's still kind of giving a performance, right? His arms are out, his head's tilted, as if he's orating as well. Very cool. All right, then we have this piece, which again is just more and more crazy as it kind of comes along, which is awesome to see. The inside with the like webbed, wrapped. See, those are like almost fingers, but then not. This is almost like a tree kind of muscle sinew thing. The facial, like muscled skeleton looks super awesome there. It's got like a jawline and teeth and a tongue. The eyes are there. The skull on top looks cool too. The little like suckers with the little kind of like inside dune worm things going on there for the mouth. Crazy. Oh man, there's this. Look at that. Look at that. You got the rows of them in there. Great detail, great design. Really, really cool. And then we have this. And that is just, I'm going to have to zoom out on this one. What a cool display piece this is, guys. Look at that. So yeah, the skull obviously awesome. The ornate kind of surround here is great. This is like thick, as you can see. This is solid. This is really, really cool. All the different bodies, but everybody's like doing different things, right? This person is like offering their own head, so their head's cut off and it's like in a bowl. They're like climbing out of the stage. This is probably one of the few guys trying to come out off of it. Looks like this guy perhaps too. They're like running around in it. Look at this guy's mouth. Look at how like he's got like sinew like holding his jaw open. His arm is like tied to itself. He's like chained on here, as you can see, free over here. His like guts are spilling out like over the candle and everything. Like just really cool stuff like this. Amazing. You can see a little bit of the bend here. This did get a little bent. You see that little strain there. But it looks like it kept its shape perfectly. It looks like it's actually totally fine. So I appreciate that. Right through that guy's like neck. Just really cool piece here. Really, really awesome. This guy, he's like smiling as he offers this junk. Just nasty. This guy is like screaming through his neck. Because of course he is. Wow. Awesome. What a cool expansion. Very unique style and kind of vibe going on here. Really appreciate it. Super cool. All right, let's go on. I'm going to pack this up. Let's get to the next one. All right, let's go. Let's do the Executioners. I believe this is going to mostly just be minis, but there are going to be some bigger ones. Should be pretty fun. So it's kind of like the smaller expansion, but obviously not small. But in the sense of it, it's like a, you know, a light on the like story and cards and all that kind of stuff, right? You can tell easily because it's not nearly as heavy, because a lot of these bigger expansions with all the like cards and all the paper stock stuff just gets really, really heavy really quick. This one a lot less so. Again, kind of difficult to open. That's probably a big complaint. They're not that, you know, I think this is one of those kind of games where you're not going to just like play casually. This is definitely one where you got to kind of commit to it, so you're probably going to leave it out. For the wrap, a little bit of a mess up here, otherwise looks pretty good. Inside actually looks much more even than the last one, so it's like perfectly even, just a tiny little kind of wrinkle there. Anyway, here is some of the amazing art. Obviously some of the minis. We'll take a look at that. You have a little bit of tokens. Again, nothing too much there. Gallows and headsmen and stuff like that makes sense for, you know, Executioner. And then this is kind of a big expansion for, I don't know if it needed to be this big. I feel like this is a box that has been increased in size to match the other ones. But as you see, there's a lot of negative space here. So something to kind of keep in mind. This is kind of neat though. So it has like a little thing there, and I'm assuming you're doing something, putting something in there. A little bit of a different vibe, right? Or different style. So here's their kind of their long cards here. Again, the artwork incredible as always. And again, love the splashes of light. I think that works quite well. I'm not gonna look at all the cards here, but as you can see, you get quite a few of those also. And yeah, again, artwork looking fantastic. Same with this, you get a whole big old stack. So there's still quite a bit here, right? Now, again, remember this is probably, well, I guess, I don't know, is it multiple languages? I don't think I had it in this one. This one was just English. So a little bit different in that sense. But yeah, otherwise, that's the main deal right there. So let's look at minis. We'll skip over. We got a lot to go through, guys, so let's go ahead and start. Yeah, I don't know. We'll start with the first one I got. Okay. Zoom in a little bit. There we are. All right. So yeah, incredible. Of course, they do size really well. A lot of times when you get big minis, a lot of the time it seems like the texture is stretched or enlarged or is kind of blurry. There's no sense of that here. Everything's nice and crisp, done really well. The chains look really good here. There's also like ropes or bone or metal bindings or whatever to kind of wrap all this together into some big huge mallet thing. It does go all the way, and then like his arm is like one piece of it. And that looks really good. It's clear where his arm begins and ends, and the chain back there looks good. All the different like sinew and stretchiness from the big body looks great. The assembly is actually fantastic. Like I think it looks really good. All these cracks make that look good. This is one of the smoothest hidden lines like almost ever. Like that's really, really good actually. It's a little bit more visible here, but again, primed and painted, you wouldn't even be able to see that. The little kneecaps coming like that is disgusting. Same with his disgusting feet. Of interest, I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but sometimes you get the shininess, sometimes you don't. And I don't think there's actually a change. I think it's like I don't know if there's something over it, if it's been slightly roughed up. I don't know. I think it's something they must have done in the mold. The reason I say that is because it's only when it's like nasty, right? If you have these like hard lines, like those show up like really, really well. And then when it gets like sinewy and nasty, kind of goes that. I guess here it doesn't. And again, those chains look just as good as those chains. So I don't really know what's on them to perhaps cause that. That's not as shiny. It'll paint up fine. It looks fine. It doesn't look bad or anything like that. But that like it's not a separate piece or anything. Love the tiny head, by the way. Super awesome. All right, then we got this one as well. It is amazing to me that and the basing being larger certainly helps, which again, still ABS plastic, really, really, really good. Base is nice and flat. That this isn't like top heavy. But as you can see, this guy has already been like crushed and it's like stuck onto the end of the mallet, or the big hammer. He's like gripping it. He's like screaming in pain. His legs have already been crushed off of him. He's pretty much flattened his chest. His arm's missing. He's not having a great time. But he's going for a ride. Again, all those chains look good. This, one thing that's a little bit interesting, and that's fine that it's not, but the back end is no longer there in the hammer, which is kind of funny. Maybe it got broken off somewhere. It like not in there, like story-wise, you get what I'm saying. But this is almost like part of him, though. It's like almost coming out of him. Now this is open. He does kind of have a head, as you can see, 2 eyes and a mouth, right? A head-like thing, sort of. So has this almost like volcanic look to him. The hand looks a lot more legitimate. And for the most part, it's kind of standing there. It's not like walking or anything like that. There is perhaps a tiny bit of assembly that I would probably fill in right here. Kind of on the back. I think this is all fine. This looks like it should still be part of his body. And there's just maybe a little bit too much of a gap there. On the front, looks great. It's just that little back area there. All right. Then we got this one. Love his tiny head. Again, that's fantastic. The like sewn on like organs popping out of his stomach is just disgusting. The weapon, it's not like set there, but it looks like it should almost be flat. Like you see how it like just stops there, but it's not. So you might have to like fill that in. See how there's like a little bit of a gap? Let me see if I can get the light to show. I don't know why the light. Yeah, let me move some stuff around. Hold please. Okay. Do you see that like gap there? Where I can just like stick this underneath, but it's so flat. So you're gonna have to really like move this back so I can have my arm over there. You're gonna have to really fill that in or something to make it look better. It looks fine. I mean, it's whatever, but I would prefer that to be a little bit more realistic because it's flat on the bottom there. I think it should be touching, and it's not quite touching. The mallet here looks great. I love that it's like open in the end now. It's like all just so different. Each one is unique there. The like arm with the rib cage holding it together. Otherwise, it'd almost have no shape. Kind of interesting. And I love the like bone snapped off kind of blade it has there as well. And then the last one here, this guy, again has kind of the sad face, has that like kind of blade thing still. This time it's down on the ground. It looks like again it's the guy is now completely smashed. He's like blood splattering an arm at this point. And then yeah, this thing is like now reaching out. It's almost got like almost looks like teeth kind of, but it's not. It's like some like ribbed organ or some junk like that. It's like droopy nastiness here. And the feet are turning a little bit more like there's toes, and I don't know. It's almost like he gets put together a little bit more, except for in the middle. The more he like kills or something. Just cool representations of him. I love it. I think it's awesome. And yeah, pretty easy to unbox and show off there. I liked that one. That one went pretty quick. Honestly, a lot of them will, just because I'm not going to like keep showing off like all the cards and stuff like that. So we'll zoom through the rest pretty easily, and you'll still see some stuff, and you'll hear my thoughts. I love that you see the guy being crushed in the. Oh, let me zoom out a little bit. And the art here, right? Great. All right, let's look at. I'm kind of curious. The upgrade components. Again, not really a permanent box needed here, so they didn't bother with it, which makes total sense. But this is interesting. Okay, so you have the sheet here where you get to change some of this stuff here. So that's interesting. You get clear stickers. Very interesting. Then you have some grouped cards here. I don't want to like ungroup them because that would be it'll make me actually using a little bit more difficult. But they did kind of conveniently group this stuff, so you can really kind of just replace whole cards. So not doing a whole bunch of stickers, which I'm glad to see. And I don't know what all the changes are, but there's some there. You have your monster save sheet. This is like a big old packet here. I love seeing that. Like I really do, because why the heck not, right? You have a whole bunch. Your wanderer save sheet. So you have that, and then you have the rewritten book here. So there's all your instructions, and then you have story mode and storybook revisions. So this is new. So it kind of says, oh, okay. I understand not replacing the storybook, but it'll be kind of hard to know when I need to go to this new one versus not. Unless, okay, I guess it's just for the characters there. That's kind of easy. That's not too bad. So these, I don't know. It'll be kind of interesting to see, right? Like, oh, how do I need to know the 5 is here and not here, right? But this is from a lot of player feedback as they've kind of gone through this and hit certain scenarios or noticed certain things. Obviously, it's a big undertaking, but I do think they got some of the like, oh, go here, or hey, this needs to mention this. One thing I really like seeing though is that, hey, with the Wave 2, this is one of the benefits that you can get where they can just send this with Wave 2 and not really add a whole huge amount of cost to what they would normally have to do that, where you're just stuck with like an errata. Instead, you can just kind of send this in and wholly replace a lot of it. So very cool. Very cool. I'm glad that they sent that. Obviously, getting it right the first time helps, but this has been beyond a big project for what is really a fairly small team of people. So yeah, kind of cool. All right, let's go look at the ticking heart. The ticking heart. After this, we'll probably do another small one. I then might do the art book. I was gonna wait to do the art book last, so I'm seeing all of the art there, but I'm not like looking at every page of the art book anyway. So I think it might be fun to kind of do that. The upside down face there is super cool. So for the most part, I think we'll be just fine doing this. Okay, there we go. Cut that. Don't stab myself. If I want to do it, I probably shouldn't do it on camera. Get demonetized. Spent all this time doing this for nothing. All right, let's see. I'm excited to see about the kind of puppet robotics kind of vibe that I can kind of tell just from the cover art there. So that'll be kind of neat. All right, there's the overview. Here's the book. A huge book. This is quite thick, full of stuff. This is a big one. Very cool to see.
Oh, that's fun. I like the clock. Look at that. Oh, it's going to spin. So this is definitely a little bit of a spinner here because you can see it has like the middle part where you probably have the like hours and minutes on the clock there. So that's super neat. Then you have some of the more fancier stuff. Almost looks like a sword. Haha. Where you can track some stuff here. Very cool. Punches out totally fine. So that's great. It looks like this is at least one of the tickers there. Okay. Got a whole bunch more there. You have a little kind of like light tower, looks like. That's kind of neat. Kind of neat. I dig it. I dig it. Very cool. All right. There's that. Move that over here. Okay. So this time, this is not on the inside, or on the outside, but the inside. I don't know exactly how they decided which would be which, but it is a little bit different. And again, it can be kind of hard to, because this is like a really good lock-on system, which I appreciate. I think it's not like you're opening this constantly, but something to keep in mind. I got to smooth this process. All right, there we go. Okay, so here you have a reference card for the different times and kind of what that represents. You have the dual layer board here for the clockmaker. Again, looks quite centered, quite happy with that. I think that looks great. And this kind of popped out, but otherwise a similar kind of vibe here. Right, where that goes there, that goes there. This was kind of the reference card is only a new part here, but it fits just fine inside of there. You have these. This time they put it on the top instead of the bottom, and then 2 stacks of cards here. So lots and lots of stuff. And again, tons of like empty space. Maybe for the standees is what a lot of that is. Okay, here, speaking of standees, there's that. Though they, I bet they could all fit in there. And then this is for the clock to kind of go around. Other than that, we got some minis, so let's take a look. Let's take a look. All right. We'll start normal-ish and then get quite abnormal as time goes on, as you guys know. All right. So, yeah, otherwise, first, it's just kind of the picture. He's sitting down. He's kind of working on a clock right there. He's got his goggles up. It matches the artwork just about perfectly. The only thing I will say that I don't like is just how, and I'm wondering if it's almost on purpose, how square he is. So, obviously, you know, his skirt thing ends directly at the knees where they're bent, so it goes straight down, and then his legs are almost perfectly straight across. But I'm actually less concerned about that than the bottom part. So there's no like curve where his butt is on the seat. It just fills out the back corner of the chair perfectly. And to me, that just seems a little, and in fact, even this, it doesn't like curve in really a whole lot. Even this part here, the opening happens right there. So I like the thought. I don't really like the execution perfectly. Like it works, but I would have much preferred to have seen some more care be done to at least try and give him a human shape and not a chair shape. Though again, for all I know, that's slightly purposeful. But I don't think it's going to matter after a while. Sure enough, look at this. Actually, this is kind of interesting. This is exactly what I was thinking of. Where, see, now he is starting to kind of like, I wonder why that one's different. Again, maybe it's purposeful. So the chair, obviously, a little bit different, getting some weird kind of spikiness and stuff. His legs are now starting to kind of melt away. He's now clutching and holding the clock to his chest. That's very cool to see. I really dig that. Face and all that look fairly similar. But as you can see, his legs now, like, see how this is drooped? See how he's now much more defined from the chair? I really like that. That's cool. The clutching the clock is a very cool idea. All right. So now he's really starting to be affected. His goggles are now on. The clock is now, it looks like it's almost inside of him. He's almost held it so much to his stomach that it's embedded into his stomach. His arms are out here. This chair has become some sort of kind of like technical throne, right? And then there's kind of a woman here, sad or depressed or tired. I can't quite tell. But either way, very, very cool to see
the clock in particular kind of go into him like that is neat. And then there's one final one. It's also going to be a lot crazier here. This is closer to the artwork at the front, so I'll obviously show that to you. But now he is like fully fused into this like mechanical throne of a chair. The chair legs are now even different, as you can see as well. And now he has like clockwork kind of stuff embedded into him. Incidentally, his feet are now like separate, so he's more part of the chair, but less melting into the like scenery, which is kind of interesting to see. And now she's like pulling something out of his chest, probably his ticking heart, or putting it in there. Face fully covered with those goggles now. And now he has even like a mask of some kind. Just very, very cool to see that change. I love the transitions for these people. I think that's awesome. And just as a reference, there is that artwork, right, that it's kind of loosely based on. So those like the mask I was talking about, that's that right there. All right, now let's look at the clockwork thing, and then we'll look at the minis. Can already see there's one that's crazy looking. All right, so here is kind of the clock tower. Very, very cool. Obviously, the like gilded ornate clock tower is amazing. The clock itself looks cool. I don't know if that time is significant or not. I guess we'll see. But the fact that you can open it up and then there's like this like portal, this like time portal of some kind. I'm sure it's gonna dive into some of that. I'm really excited. Something about like clocks and time, I think, work with this theme really, really well. I'm sure it's actually really cool. But what a fun little clock tower thing. Looks like there might be some slight cleanup needed. This isn't like, I just want to make sure it's smooth, so you might need to like kind of wipe that down a little bit. I don't know. I think it might just be slightly visual. It seems fine. I don't notice any like texture detail difference. All right, so now we got these guys here. Again, basing looks great. Love, this guy's like centered, but I think that works here. But I love that he's like climbing on top. Again, this maybe would have been a little bit better, I feel, if it had been slightly attached, but he can be lifting it up there. I think that's okay. You just kind of can see that his foot isn't actually flat. There is a little bit of padding here and in the back, but it is fairly flat. That being said, he's like not even human, so like I think that's okay. But no, just climbing up this tower again. Brain exposed, tentacle, mouth, tongue thing out, spikes on the legs. Sure, why not? Imagine they're going to be kind of. Oh, this guy's wielding it like a weapon, which is super awesome. So now he can kind of see it's like a bell, and the tick-tock kind of part of it is a skull and a spine inside. That's a nice little fun detail when you look into the bell. Squatting down, like Spider-Man style. All the spikes coming out of his head. It barely looks like a head anymore. And all these little spikes too. So the spikes there are really cool as well. But I love how he's now like weaponized what he was on. And again, another weapon here. This time more like a flail, which again looks very cool. This is back to the exposed brain, but a little bit more pincher stuff coming out with a third random one. Again, asymmetrical. They're really big on that. No spikes on the legs, though, but they do have these little bumps here. Chain looks great between the two. And again, inside, first of all, it's broken, but you can still see that skull spine thing kind of going out there. Looks fantastic. One interesting thing, and again, this is just some of the little things I note, right? Do you see how thick this is? And then how skinny this is? So there's obviously a difference there. And to me, especially back to back, that I think that's just kind of more noticeable. It looks like this, probably because of the chain and stuff, needed to be a little bit more, see how it's like just shinier? I feel like maybe there's some more ABS here. Maybe it was kind of like separate from the arm. This whole piece is a higher ABS, but that allows them to go skinnier. But I would almost rather them have made it the same thickness, even though they didn't necessarily need to. Or, again, do that on both and skinny this up. Either way, to have it kind of more unique would have been kind of nice. But they are a little bit different. So, I mean, it's okay. But, you know, I wanted to look the same. But the skinny one looks great. And then we have this one. And this one is super cool. This is one of the, you know, I had put this on my thumbnail. I always thought this was one of the coolest looking minis. Just awesome. I think it's incredible. So, yeah, obviously there's like this looks kind of like the chair, right? Let me see. Do we have, where is that chair? I don't know if I have a good look of it here. Oh, yeah, here it is. It looks similar to this. You see like the little like kind of like vials and contraptions and stuff. So it seems kind of like that, and in fact, it looks like it kind of comes out because even like, put it back. See like these gauges here, and then you see these gauges here, right? Like just very, very, yeah. There's something connected there. Anyway, obviously hooked up to there, the pipes and stuff are going into this guy's flesh, just completely like all the skin's been like flayed off, and there's more tubes going on everywhere inside of him. Screaming in pain or agony or ecstasy or fury or whatever, God only knows. There was like another head coming out to the left with a pipe going into its mouth. More heads coming out over here as more and more, I don't know, personalities. God knows what's going on. Just kind of go everywhere. The hair being parted, multiple spaces for the different heads is crazy. The fingers are kind of interesting. This one has the fingers more separate. This one has the fingers separate, but then underneath them are these pipes, and that's kind of cool to see. There is a little bit of like black coloring here. I don't know what necessarily went on there. Kind of interesting. Assembly quite good. I think they did a good job with that. It especially primed and painted, you never even be able to tell. So I think they did good there. This is kind of coming out a little bit. I think that should be more in. It looks like it might be just kind of misplaced a little bit. That being said, you can roll with that too super easily, like it's getting pulled out or anything like that. I wouldn't even fix that. In fact, I won't fix that. So yeah, otherwise just very cool. Just a very neat mini. I like it. All right, let's get to some more. All right, time for the Watchers, another small box expansion. The last one had what, 3 minis in it? Let's see how many this one has. Probably about the same. But they should be really cool, especially based off the art, because wow, right? That's just fun. All right, Watchers. Let's take a look. Come on, open up. There we are. Okay, zoom out a little too close. All right, once again. They look fine. We got Eternal, Infinite, and Genesis. A couple different languages. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these because I want to see the art. That looks super cool. Wow. I love the like hourglass kind of thing. That's awesome. All right. That's the one in the box. And then we got the Infinite there. And then we just got the other languages. Okay. Wow, yeah, these look awesome. Oh, I'm excited for these. All right, let's just look at the hands one. All right, zoom in a little bit. Get super detailed here. So yeah, obviously super duper cool. The mix between technology and horror elements are just so interesting. So here we have all these hands, right? But then we also have like claws and like this like weird cylinder thing, which looks awesome with these little lines and inner lanes here. Just very detailed, very cool looking. The whole base is like pretty much covered up here. It looks like there might be a little bit, tiny bit of mold lines here, a flash, but not too bad. The like arms on top of arms, that's kind of a cool thing you don't always see. Here's another, or like a hand on top of a hand. So we have some that are kind of mitteny, some that are a little one finger spread out, some that have a couple more, but it's very much not like the grabby like this. It's very kind of grabby like that, right? Which, considering they're not all like that, I think that's actually makes it, stand out in a cool way. Even little things like this, like they didn't have to put this here, but they wanted to, right? And so whole nother piece, whole nother kind of mold injection assembly, like that all adds to the cost. But little things like that just show that they're really about the vision and making sure that comes across in the mini, which I think is awesome. Again, love the hollow face. But then you see this kind of like inner working inside too. Very cool. I like that one. All right, here's the hourglass one. And this one, super duper cool to see. Again, looks kind of more mechanical, right? Almost looks like a fan there. I love that the hands with kind of the flayed cloth around them on the robe kind of make it almost look like wings, which I think are super cool, but without the feathers. These hands are like coming out of the base in a very cool way because it is slightly raised here. They can actually even come down a little bit. And again, also added assembly to make sure that they come out at the angle that they want them to. Otherwise, I would have had to flatten a lot of these out. Assembly onto the base itself looks fantastic. Again, I love the giant connecting pieces to it. Very cool. The back, again, if you were to like paint this and really kind of show all this detail, it'd be incredible with like the staples stitching kind of stuff going on here. Simply pretty good here. Again, I'm not too concerned about that. I think primed and painted, that will look totally fine without any filler at all. Love the inside. That goes really deep, which I dig that one. It kind of comes out on the bottom here to kind of create that deep recess, which is super cool. And yet I love how, see how it's like flowing almost off the like it's almost like you know, like if you put like a fan underneath, right, and kind of billowed the, see like how it stretches out the cloth, like it's not attached to the body, if that makes sense. Not that there really even is a body, and I think that kind of helps sell it. That's cool. Last one here. Oh, very cool. So this is the one on the cover, and you can see through it. I love that. Super cool. Again, I don't think I've ever really seen a mini that does that. That's I mean, I guess not in a board game. There's a few Warhammer minis, I think, that kind of do an equivalent, but that is super cool to see. I love that. Very neat. Obviously, all textured in here. Good luck painting that. It'll be kind of difficult. Obviously, this is through some assembly, right? So you can see some of the places where the assembly probably happened. You might be able to, if you're really trying to, though, again, I think just painting it, I don't know, you can't really paint it dark because it's light, right? Yeah, ooh, that's tough. So a lot of these minis are assembled with kind of like a super glue kind of material, and super glue becomes very brittle when very, very cold. So a lot of times what you can do, often I do this to like fix minis, but sometimes you can do it to deassemble minis to paint. You put them in the freezer like overnight, get them really cold, and then you can literally just kind of pull them apart, and it breaks just where that brittle super glue is. Now, not all minis are you use that kind of a little thing in there, glue, and that's only that kind of glue that works. But honestly, well over half of assembled minis use that. And so that's a nice trick that you could maybe even like separate this a little bit to get in there and really paint. Worth exploring, I would think. One of the things I like about this that you kind of see in like some of these in there, right, is that the inside of the cloth is like organic, right? It's like this is the skin and that's the inside of the body. But it's cloth. I don't know. It's just a neat idea that you really see in that fully open one that you get a sense of, but you don't really get to see without it. Anyway, very cool. That's a fun one. I really like that small expansion. Definitely recommend that one. That one's cool. All right. So, let's do the Forgotten Void. Then after that, we're going to do another. Well, this is the one that has, the next one will be the one that has the like cards kind of taped onto the top there, the Numina ones or Numina ones or whatever. Excited for that one because it looks like very cosmic, which I'm excited to see. Okay, what does that mean when it comes to expressing, the ideas and stuff to these minis? So yeah, very cool about that. A little bit of a damage there. Nothing huge, nothing major. Let me go in and unzoom a little bit so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Anyway, then we have just one other big expansion, kind of like this. And then the art book, which I'm excited to leaf through and kind of see. For an art book, what I'm looking for is art. I'm looking for the color retention, the brightness. Like sometimes art books can be a little dark. Like I think the
The Rising Sun one was kind of like that back in the day, right? So you can get some of those. But I love text. I love a little kind of blurb or behind the scenes, or maybe it's like early concept drawing, or just interesting things like that for somebody to kind of look through. Okay, so we got the expansion overview. Again, a whole lot of really cool minis. Can't wait to see that. A whole lot of cool parts and characters and stuff. And then we have Game 1, the body. Game... It's out of order. Game 2, the blood. Game 3, the vision. And Game 4, the will. Interesting enough, Game 4 is definitely the skinniest there. So they are as long as they need to be, which, as you can see, is different depending on the act. So very cool. But this art, just incredible. So cool. All right. Whole bunch of tokens, but honestly, not terribly much, because they didn't even have to bound these. There's just really 2 things here, and a lot of them are these kind of like spin dials here with just some incredible art. Really cool. Again, I love the kind of because you can do this kind of like shadowing, right? That I think just looks awesome. Yeah, that looks awesome. Very cool stuff. Okay. Meanwhile, everything nicely tucked in there, even where it makes sense to hold them. That's what they did. I like that the bases are not snap-in. Again, they're definitely, I think, Dimension Games are miniature people. And by that I mean they know what they're doing when it comes to the quality of the miniature, when it comes to the different little things like, hey, I want it to stay in there, but I don't want it to like lock in and rub paint off. So when I paint these, they look amazing right there in the tray. Okay, so again, dual layer board, as always, looking very good. These all look almost exactly the same. I think they are centered. I know I've been talking about that a lot, but it's because it's such a common problem. Not problem, it's very difficult to do manufacturing wise, but this looks great. Yeah, I think these all look pretty much perfect. Again, the attention to detail is really good. There is on this bottom one a little bit of kind of bumpiness. You can kind of see there in the reflection a little bit. This has been kind of dinged, and that's because, I mean, I don't know, they're maybe not the best cardboard. It's maybe slightly, like it's not like Monolith where I think they have really good, almost like wood style like cardboard, but it's still fine. All right, these were almost coming up, but not quite. So you have all of these here. Again, same kind of storage, except obviously you get more people in this one, which is cool to see. And this is a little different, right? So here they have these here. And then we have the 2 packs of cards there. So nice and secure there. I think that looks great. And we got, this comes in, it looks like that. And then we have a whole spot there for a whole bunch of like standees. This is probably, yep, for the spin dial things. All right, let's look at some of the minis. We're going to follow just about the same order as normal. If I can find a normal mini at all. Okay, here we go. That's the key, right? That's the trick. Which one is normal? That's how I know where to start. Normal-ish. All right, maybe a little, there we go. Okay. All right, so I love the suit, the texture on it, like with the hashes and everything. That looks super cool. Where the mold line would be, it looks like it's pretty darn clean there, and I don't see any softening of the texture. That's something that can sometimes happen. Did very good here. Again, Star Games does quite well. Base is flat. That looks good. It looks like he's got a little bit of an umbrella, and it looks like he's kind of putting on his glasses. He's got the hat. I think all of that looks fine. The brim of the hat is kind of curved up, which allows it to be a little bit thicker, but still look normal. So overall, very good. All right, now which one comes next? I'm gonna take a quick peek just to kind of see. All right, so I think this is the next one. And yeah, it already starts a little, maybe you shouldn't have found this. First of all, this is an incredible altar. Looks awesome. I've been playing Path of Exile 2 lately because it has a really good season, and I love ARPGs. But
the ascendancy that you do in Path of Exile 2 has this like a little tablet kind of thing. It looks very similar to this kind of style, not as like Cthulhu-ish, right? But same kind of like, oh, I'm on an expedition and I found this tome, right? Though this should tell you already, probably don't read the stuff out loud. But we got the candles there. His umbrella, he set it down on there. I love little touches like that. And as you can see, as he reads this, it's already starting to consume him. Going up the arms where it's connected, but otherwise fairly the same. So that's what's cool. I'm wondering if the umbrella is going to come into play in some of the other ones. I guess we'll see. Love the detail around the altar, and even like the runes and inscription, all that just looks super cool. Okay, so, nothing ever goes well here. So now he's like moved into it, and he's now like coming out of the little part there. It looks like the umbrella has turned into a blade, like a crooked dagger, which I think is quite fitting there. Again, arms up. He's got, like, his hands are curved there too, but in my opinion, I think his fingers may be a little skinny there, or a little like stubby, a little too short. This is spilling out over everything. What's interesting is it looks like, I thought maybe this might encompass him, but it looks like it's really spilling out of the like runic tablet thing that he was reading there. But very cool. See that wrapping him up and taking him in. And then that ends up into this, where now like the whole thing's alive. This has come out. I love the webbing here, or the bones and like ribs and junk like that. I think that's super awesome. Obviously here he is there. Looks like he's kind of like that. Is that chained, or is that a hand, or there's something holding him there? His arms are now down again, palm out, very much accepting of this. As this continues to like, looks like it's still kind of this is still solid, and it's just kind of come up over it, or maybe out of like the little head thing there. That's kind of interesting to see. Love this little piece here though. That's a nice touch. That looks really cool. Love the arm. Again, even coming off the base a little bit. Yeah, very cool. I love that. All right. So looking at some of these. Love the little totem guys. I think that's really fun. Again, love seeing the runes and stuff there. The skull with the like tentacle thing coming out of the top. That's super neat. Again, got several of these. Looks like this guy was like nailed through the head into it. It's all cracked. Look at the, oh man, let me focus. Look at the like crack and the deep gouge and stuff. This looks broken. That looks actually really, really cool. So he had a weapon out. Not that that really did much good for him. And his arm has now turned into like multiple tentacles, because of course. But yeah, the totem itself I think looks really cool. I actually love that. You got quite a few of these, but each one is unique and different. But I really, yeah, the faces coming out. That's really neat. I love the detail on these though. Very cool. Okay, and there's a guy also like staked through, but he's now more into this than normal. It's like sucking you in, almost by the looks of it, more than bursting out. And you can see this almost like pulling him in like that. Then we do have like some kind of gargoyle looking kind of guys. These are neat. Again, still with the theme of these columns, but now it's on top and he's like fully out. Still kind of coming out of it, as you can see there. But yeah, those wings are cool. I love that. Very neat. Here's another one here. Again, this one, they've now almost completely kind of come out of it. So yeah, this is very much a mixture of these coming alive or fusing or somehow. Oh man, I can't wait to read about how this happens. That's so interesting. And then this one looks like I had already looked at. That was the other one. Okay. All right. So now we have the big one here. Here we are. I'm going to have to zoom out. Yeah, they do good big minis. Again, I've always been impressed by the level of detail there. So assembly actually looks quite good. That's pretty clean, and you will kind of see this because it does kind of bend in. But I think that is almost on purpose. Otherwise, it looks like it should go just fine. I'm not sure about this, but I think that's on purpose as well, because this looks like it. Yeah, this is a tough one because it's three pieces meeting together, Maybe there's a little bit of a gap here, but again, with some of this like nastiness, I think it all works. Now notice here, this is that tablet thing again. So now he's like fully separate. The runic tablet is still there, but it's almost like this turns to that and goes red, and you know what that means when the mini's in red. Oh, the face here is super cool. I love the tentacle coming straight out the top. Obviously, all the ones in the back, super cool there. Extra arms and junk. Yeah, just gnarly nasty. Oh, these are people. I didn't notice that. So there's like actual people here making up part of, I mean, not just like their bones, but like whole bodies almost making up some of it. Very, very cool looking though. I think these, like the heads and legs and stuff that are here on the base, look pretty good. They do look, and this is kind of interesting. So see here how, and like, again, everything works when it comes to this, but do you see how like the head's in half here? Almost like it's in like blood or something like that, but instead it's on stone. So it's kind of hard to decide, is this just half of a head? Is this a head coming out of the ground as if it's liquefied? I mean, again, with this theme, I think you could do that. But it's kind of interesting, and it almost looks like what you'd put in like mud or blood or poison or, you know, one of those kind of things, because they're kind of like seeping in and out of the base there. But that's that expansion. Super cool. Love it. Love it. Very cool theme. Some of my favorite art so far has been in this one. Just really, really digging the vibe, the style. I mean, it's just, guys, so cool. So cool. All right, that's a fun one. I love that one. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Next up, Numina. Numina. That's what I want to say. All right, so let's start with, I guess let's actually take this off first. I think that'll make getting the cards off easier. All right. Oh. Okay. Oops, separate that. Perfect. These have been pretty easy to open, to be honest. I love the color there. I'm not expecting bright purples. But again, it's that kind of cosmic vibe. You know, there's like a black hole right there kind of junk like this. I'm excited to see this. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. See the whole box. There you go. Okay. All right. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, actually, it's still attached. I forgot. All right, let's go ahead. Okay. We'll set that aside for now. See if it's obvious when we should get into that. So here is the expansion details. There's the stuff you're getting. Yeah, artwork, super cool. All right, then we do have just a small token tray here. Again, nothing too bad. And again, these look super cool. Love it, love it. All right, then we have this. Interesting enough, this one has been taped in and is wrapped differently. I think they did some changes on this. That's interesting. So they like attached that in at the end there. Oh, dude, look at that, guys. So cool. So cool. Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay. All right. Set that aside. Okay. Some cards here. Again, looks fantastic. Single giant deck here. Maybe a little bit larger than some of the others. Then we got some standees. Then we have a few of these cards here. Oh, and a... Oh, no, this is just a standee. So it looks like we needed 2 of these, and we just got the 1. I don't see any other difference, so I think it's just an extra standee. Ah, interesting. Okay, well, I'll stick that in there. All right, that being said, we got some 4 big ol' awesome looking minis, so let's just get into it. Oh my goodness. All right. Wow. Super cool already. Okay, that's about as zoomed in as I can get. Yeah, love it, love it. So the eyeballs, just disgusting. There's several different kinds. there's like all these like pots or something like that that almost seem to be coming out of these like tentacle things. Again, there's like a mix between technology and non-technology. This is like some kind of pedestal. This is like a Stargate kind of looking ominous thing. You'd see this in like Doom Eternal or something like that. Like just crazy stuff. He's coming out. Yeah, that's wild. See, it's completely separate. We got some like tentacle suction cup things. We got eyeballs coming out of like intestinal looking junk here. Assembly, you can see right there on the bottom was cool. The fact that they even textured this when it's completely unnecessary is kind of neat. It just shows again, it's a whole lot of attention to detail there. Love the rib cage. Again, everything looks crisp. I love this like line separation here. Super cool to see. Super cool. I love this like area in between these things can like kind of hang down in. Very cool. Obviously, this represents something even more massive, right? Where like people would be on here. So this is kind of like a zoomed out scale looking kind of thing. Wouldn't be like true to scale to the guys that you have. All right, this one again, just crazy looking. So here we have what, 3 different like almost like solar disc looking kind of junk going on here. And then like I love this like stretchy ligament looking stuff here. Again, they textured inside when it's like barely even needed, which I think is super cool. Whole bunch of suction cups on this one, holding like globes of something that's going on here. Just, you know, this really gives some of the vibes of like a, how do you even explain this? Like what are you even looking at here? It's primordial something crazy. All right, and these are barely fitting on camera here. This one's super cool because this got all these faces here. So the different kinds, like here's some weird like beetle looking skeleton thing. Here's like a melty face thing here. Here's what looks to be like a Viking kind of thing with like horns, but some of them are like coral reef kind of junk going on. You see just like things that resemble teeth kind of everywhere. I love the like spill out ooze kind of part here. Look at this. This is like some crazy weird dimorphic skull thing with like weird teeth where it's like jutting out of his like mouth like a tusk stuff. Again, little tiny faces and teeth and bug looking things, and so cool. Here's some more suction cups here. These are really, really nice suction cups. A different style, right? But very, very cool. Oh, everything just looks like saggy. Just gross. Very, very cool. I love the book up here as this thing is like flipping pages. I think that's super cool. This page here, perhaps a little thick, but I actually kind of like the like wrinkled, thick, parchment, old book kind of feel vibe that it gets. And I really like the layers of the pages. Those are all very clear, as you can see. Very cool that above all of this, it like these arms are like flipping through the pages, like getting things to exist. It's crazy. And then there is this one. Wow. This one, super cool. Again, they did the hollow thing where you can see through the mini, which I think is super cool. It's like two different halves, but they've connected it really, really well, which I think looks awesome. I love that this isn't connected here. This arm has this like globe thing that this weird suckerfish looking tentacle thing is like spouting out of its intestinal tongue into the... This is just gross. This is like a weird heart thing with like antlers. I don't know what's going on here. These horns are actually just people's legs and feet just sticking out of his head. Very, very cool. Again, I love how deep these get. That looks super cool. This is weird, like, again, almost coral reef-ish kind of like, you know, thing with this is coming out of this like fleshy bit here. Just gross. These are like, this is like something in like a weird fetal position, like being like birthed out of this boil. Disgusting. Yeah, so this is a gross mini. Yeah, if you don't like the like holes on things, you're not gonna like that part there. Just wow, a lot here. Very cool. That's messed up. But that's the expansion. That's what you get. That's what you get. Yeah, those are some of the coolest minis I think they've made for this. They just look gnarly, man. Like I said, that's nasty. All right, I'm actually going to. I'll clean it up. So this goes here. Okay, that's really it. I just needed to put that there. Otherwise, we just have like this, which I don't know where that goes. Doesn't matter. And then that. All right. So now we have one more expansion and the art book. Super excited. Okay. Zoom out for the expansion. This one is the Written Rift. Got the typewriter there. That's super cool. That's like creepy. Some like Stephen King stuff going on there. All right. Okay. Okay. Wow. There is so much color here. I'm like surprised, if that makes sense. Like that is like a lot of color. Which again I love. Mostly blue can kind of gives that vibe off, but just yeah. Anyway, just kind of surprised. All right, here's the expansion overview. Love the hair. All right, there's the components there, and again some of the cool minis that they do amazing on. Okay, so this is always kind of out of order, so let me see here. The order goes sight, then you have hearing, then you have smell, and then you have taste, and then you have touch. Those are what you're going through there. Again, I think the first one looks perhaps the first two are a little bit bigger. The third one's kind of medium, and then the last two are a little bit shorter there. Lots of these tokens, again, especially some of these like weird eyeball looking things. Of course, why not? Who doesn't like an eyeball token? All right. Then we're going to pop this off. Again, they have the little inlets there. Appreciate that. That's nice and secure. Okay. Whew. Okay. Got some long cards here. I guess because I haven't shown this style off yet in this video, I'll go ahead and do that. So here you have the different things here. Emergence of Worlds, the family. Ugh, no, thank you. Draft, like a first draft kind of thing, right? It looks like you have one upside down for some reason. The portal blooms, and then a living portrait. Very cool. Okay. So, same thing here. We have a nice little one there to pick that up. There's Anita. Very cool, very cool. You have these cards here. Then you have a smaller deck here. More of those medium. Then you have quite a few of these, and as you can see, they're you know, a totally different kind of thing you're doing. And then another one of these. Got your standees. Okay, I think that was there. I think this was here. I think that was there. Okay. And minis. Okay, let's start with the normal, if we can. One of the things I noticed is the normal typically have like a normal base as well, like what you'd be used to seeing, and then it just gets chaotic. All right. So, yep, here she is, just kind of like holding her. Is it her hands? What is she holding there? Can I see? Her hands are in her pockets. I don't know. It looks like here they're not in her pockets, but in the art there is. Anyway, I love the fur coat kind of thing, kind of hanging off the arms like that. I think that's super cool. Yeah, the hair is not nearly as cool as it is in the art. The art has a pretty fluffy, but that's all right. A little bit of a mold line on the sides of the legs, but nothing major there. And then some like, you know, jewelry like a necklace and stuff like that. Again, the artwork that I believe this is based off of is that right there. And yeah, I think for the most part they got that little flurry bit there. But oh well. All right. Next up. Okay, yeah, so it gets crazy quick. All right, so there's already like stuff covering the mouth, and her leg is all and like tentacle stuff going on, and like again starting to get the kind of like praise, worship, arms out kind of junk going on there. She's like holding on with multiple hands onto whatever she's pulling out of her shoulder. Just some gnarly stuff there. Then it's a little worse. So now here we are. It looks like it goes like this. Okay, so this is like the underside of like some kind of building or door or something like that. And now already, again, there's stuff like hanging from the ceiling there, and she's now curled over, at least part of her is. I think this is coming out of her face. This other kind of body thing going on. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's rough. That's rough. That's tough. All right. And then the final one. So now, again, this is kind of the roof here. And as you can see, between these two pillars full of runes and junk, she's now like a whole web portal thing. I love the front and back view of that. I think that's super neat to see. Very, very cool to have hands coming out of the side too. Always you see the back of a lot of it, and then the forward. I love the little bit of a gap here, right? So you can see through that. So this definitely looks layered on top of it in a very cool way. And part of it's because it is. This is assembled and assembled fairly well here. There's a little bit of a gap here, but I think that's okay. I'm actually not, like I wouldn't fix that if it even needs to be fixed. Yeah, very cool. But you can see the similarity. Okay, so yeah, she turns like rough really quick. Really quick. Let's look at some of these minis. All right. Oh, this is a fun one. I like it. He's got quite the gait. I love the like broken wrist of the hand there. That just it looks weird that it's curved that way. See, same with this right here. And I like that. I like that it's like more bendy than it should be able to. Yeah, the sideways head, also a nice touch. Oh, these guys look like they're fast. My goodness. Yeah, like the little normal leg here, and then the like super muscular big leg here, as it really uses one of the legs and one of its arms to run by the looks of it. Very cool. Love the sense of motion. Okay, same here. This one, again, another little leg, kind of using the arm and the leg to be able to run. And again, the like bent, clawed, kind of weird bends is definitely a thing. These kind of reaching out, trying to get you look good too. All right, now we have this one, which again, kind of crazy. So now here's this dude, and then out of his stomach is spilling this like weird thing that has 3 different bodies, and then these big claw arms, again, coming off the base ever so slightly. That's a nice touch. I'm gonna have to zoom out. This is too big. There you go. Very cool to see. Yeah, he pretty much has no face, not that he can see. He's just here to birth whatever the heck this junk is. The bulged out eyeballs is a nice touch. That's disgusting. Love it. Very cool. And then we have this one as well, which again, super awesome. So now here's, oh, that'd be cool to paint on something there, right? Some picture frames. But on this side, yeah, that's pretty messed up. This is like the portrait that comes alive out of the wall kind of thing, and it's just gross. It has like multiple eye sockets, and it's like half a body, and it's like stretching and splitting out of this wall in a really nasty way. All right, this game's crazy, guys. That's really all it is. So the only thing left to do here is to look at some really cool artwork. Now, again, I'm not going to look at everything, but I'm going to leaf through it. Like I said, I actually am a little opinionated about art books and what I prefer. And it's not that anything's bad or, there we go, or anything like that. I even love the little thing here because that'll keep that from moving around. It's just, I have a preference of my way. So just having the art, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I don't think that's bad. But I love it if there's a little bit of text and lore and stuff there. Or again, behind the scenes. I'm actually good with either or and. And would be super cool. That's like my most optimal art book possible. But the fact that this is hardbound, already very nice. Love it. Again, I want it to kind of, I want it to be nice, look good on the shelf, feel good to kind of leaf through and all that. For a game like this, I think it just makes so much sense to have a very nice art book, because that's such a big part of everything. And obviously it puts so much thought into the style of the art and what the art shows and doesn't show. And that story you can kind of tell, I think is really, really cool. And if you like play through it all, then you can really recall those stories just by looking at the art. And that's neat. That's neat. I don't think every board game gets to that level. All right, let's focus. There we go. Okay. So, open it up, get the fresh creek. All right, so let's see. We have Otherworld, and then we have some of the, wow, 323 pages. That's crazy. Okay, so far, looks like mostly just art, but very kind of enlarged art. Like, it's not like what you'd see on just the card here. I like that it has a little bit of the naming there. And then it has, like, you know, the chair background. Okay, I remember this one. It watches back. So it looks like a lot of this. Let's go a little bit more further. So here's some really cool kind of larger pieces here. Definitely focused on the art itself. And wow, that is cool. It definitely looks awesome. That's for sure. Just incredible stuff. So yeah, this is just the art. But it's a way for you to kind of look through it, or somebody else to look through it and be like, what the heck kind of game are you playing, man? And I love how the background changed a little bit depending on what it's showing here. This was one of the first minis I saw that I thought was incredible. So I'm glad it like loops it there. But these is a good way to, because it's all in boxes and in cards and different size cards and all that. And here you just kind of get to see it all. Mama's baby, mama's face, mother's cell or call, sorry. Very, very cool. They grouped them in a good way, so I'm happy to see that. Yeah, very neat. I love this. Looks like there's a little bit of stickiness. That can happen from what it's made out of. It can happen when it gets like a little warm. I'm not seeing anything completely stuck to where there's any damage or anything like that, but you may want to leaf through it and be a little careful. Oh, there's Mr. Whiskers. My daughter would love Mr. Whiskers. But yeah, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, these pages definitely in shipping got a little warm, so you just don't want to kind of be careful there. That is disgusting. You know, there's something about eyeballs. I'm just not about. I'm not about. Wow, you know, some of this art I recognize and some I don't remember. But again, I think some things you know, depending where you're at in the game, you're just going through the cards really quick. You're not really seeing all of this. I don't know if any's unused or not. But yeah, this is crazy. Birthday girl. Yeah, so all sorts of nastiness. Sorry if you're a little squeamish. I'm surprised you made it this far into the the video here. Because it is not a mild game of any sort. Just really, really nasty stuff. But very cool. Very cool. Love it. All right, so guys, between the original, between the prototype, I have shown off a lot of Dawn of Badness. It is something I've kept in my library. It's super cool. I love the theme. It's so unique. Nothing else like it. Not really in gameplay very much. Not really in theme. Certainly not in feeling. And so that's super cool. But that's Dawn of Madness, pretty much everything. That's a lot of it. Guys, thank you so much for sitting through that rather long unboxing. We unboxed a ton of stuff. Thank you so much. If you did find this video enjoyable, to kind of hear the commentary or anything like that, let me know in the comments below, or leave the video a like if you want to see more detailed unboxings like this. Detailed in that I have opinions and I share them, and they're speaking about the components. Not so much because I show every single card. A picture could do that.
Be sure to subscribe as well to see more just like this. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.